With the 2025 winter finally being officially over, very sadly, I wanted to put together a little video to recap some of the best moments of my season. So in total, I logged 47 days of snowboarding, of which the majority, 40 of them, were at a resort. 6 of them were in the backcountry, and I did 2 days of cross-country skiing, as well as an indoor resort day in China, of all places. Most of this was in Tahoe at either Palisades or Alpine, but also made a few trips out to the Eastern Sierras, as well as Oregon. This season had all sorts of different types of conditions. It was pretty icy through most of January, but there were some good weekend storms through February and March, and the spring slush was so much fun. In general, I tried to focus on more technical riding, so finding a bunch of little chutes and rocks and drops and such to jump off of, working on my control. And I always just used to think snow is snow, who cares? But this season, I started putting in the effort to wake up early and hike to find some of those nice deep powder stashes, which was really rewarding.
Holy shit.
And I found myself having a lot more fun on some flat sections too. Just getting low and carvy and spinning around and practicing all sorts of fun stuff. As far as injuries go, the older I get, the more risk averse I become, and I have had an ongoing shoulder problem for a while now. So I've been taking it a little easier, a little more cautiously, but pretty happy to report that I didn't have any season-ending injuries this year. That being said, I generally try to stay away from the park, but I did have a fun milestone of doing my first 180 off a rail this year. Like I mentioned, I got a few days of cross-country skiing in to pay homage to my Midwestern roots. And I feel like a few times a year, I always get curious and I wonder, oh, is skiing fun? And I try it out and I remember, no, it never is. I had moved to San Francisco last fall, so I found myself spending a ton of time on Highway 80, which I got to know extremely well, including my favorite pit stop at Punjabi Dhaba. And although skiing itself is a pretty solitary sport, I found that all the road trips and cabin stays were a great way to bond with friends and meet new people. It became my new go-to social activity, and I grew to really appreciate all the good vibes that everyone had on the mountain. I really enjoyed going with other people and watching them learning new things and trading advice and just kind of seeing the group progress.
Look at him go. Oh yeah.
And of course, I have to give a special shout out to my girlfriend Kelly, who I dragged with me every single weekend.
Yeah.
One major highlight was definitely the pond game event that Palisades put on, where we had to wake up at 2 to get a spot in line, but we made a nice little cookout out of it. My time in the backcountry this year began with a quick day trip to the Minarets, then followed by a 3-day trip into the Desolation Wilderness, where we saw the Fountain of Youth. Although it was a pretty short hike, I loaded up my backpack with 80 pounds of nonsense like a shovel, a raft, some beers, and of course some snowboard stuff and the camping gear. Needless to say, I was pretty pooped, and when I finally crested that last ridge, I couldn't stop giggling to myself. I was pretty happy, which of course made the descent so worth it. I also did a little day trip up Sonora Pass where I met a bunch of PCT hikers. It was pretty fun to make some new friends. And then as a final hurrah, on the July 4th weekend, I did a little solo trip almost to the top of Mount Shasta. Pretty excited for the snow to come back next year. That's all I got.